Hello everyone, and welcome to our June webinar 2018. My name is Chair Dachi. I'm your host today. So today we'll be looking at the learning and teaching support sites from various institutions. And this is actually the second of the series following our popular one last year. So we have 4 fantastic speakers who are going to share the why, the what, and the how of their support sites. Next speaker is Andrea Rankin from Flinders University, and she's a learning designer there, and she has a range of professional positions which include teacher, librarian, professional editor, and web editor. And she supports the College of Humanities, Arts, and Social Sciences with topic design in the online environment, including Moodle. So over to you, Andrea. You should be able to navigate through the slides from here.
Yeah, hi everyone. Can everyone hear me okay, I presume?
Yes.
Yep, good. So this is about staff support resources moving through to eLearning Gateway, which is what we have ended up calling our portal of support resources. And it's quite a journey that started in probably 2013, and it's still continuing, so it hasn't finished yet. So I'm part of the online learning and teaching team in the Centre for Innovation in Learning and Teaching, and we've had a lot of changes at this university, which is certainly going to influence our support resources going into the future. So I'm not actually going to show you the site itself. So I suppose what I'm more telling you about is the processes we've gone through to develop support resources, the wrangles we've had, and the conversations we've had, the issues we've discovered, and just a general kind of sense of where we've been heading. So we started off with there was a staff support site in 2012, which was situated in Moodle. Part of my job when I started in 2013 was to manage a project to integrate, just streamline resources so that they were all in one place instead of scattered around the faculties and all in bits and pieces. So the aim was to streamline resources. Is that a bit better in terms of hearing? Okay, so we launched a new version of the Gateway in 2014, and then we developed a Gateway working team to manage the site, and it was mostly managed centrally, and updates, as James said, are always a consideration. But one of our main problems was we located the site in Moodle, and as James said as well, learning management systems aren't great for navigation and searching and all that sort of thing, and that is exactly what we found. So we decided to try and do a refresh, still keeping it in Moodle, but trying to improve on the issues that were identified through a staff survey, and just trying to work on a new design. So we have got a soft launch plan for semester 2, which we're all panicking about, and there's a much bigger picture thing that's going to happen. So it's an open access site. So this is the address here, and it's searchable in Google. We wanted it to be open access as James wanted their site to be. It's a modular format. It's got a few different modules. We tried to integrate educational design or learning design into the site because there were a few of us who were employed in this new role, and we wanted to enrich the support resources in this way. So we had various other things as well. We had a database of literature and resources, but it was just ridiculous to keep it going. And we've also got example flow sites, which shows people what a site can look like. And we also tried to get some real topics to show to people, and that's been quite a challenge, actually, getting real topics for various reasons, process and other things. But staff say they really would like to see what others are doing. So there's no doubt about it that the demand is there. So this is what it looks like. It's got a search box here, it's basically most of the content sits in a glossary, which is based around these tools. And you know, if you're familiar with Moodle, the glossary is a good tool in some ways, but it has limitations. And if you've got a lot of content in there, the search became a bit of an issue. We found that when people search for something, they were thinking it would be like Google. It certainly wasn't, and they'd get lots of results. So that was an issue. We also had 3 of these sub-modules, which were for other resources, but what people felt was that this was a pretty busy design. Like, they looked at it and they saw that there was lots of stuff to click on. They didn't know what some of these things meant. The tools for activities was actually just the glossary, so they ended up just more or less in here. But generally the design wasn't, well, it certainly wasn't perfect. So to look at those issues, the design, Moodle as a portal for resources has navigation issues. Search engine's not good, too much information in too many places. So staff, we did use a testing at the end of 2016 with just a few people, and we also then did a staff survey at the end of last year, and we got 74 responses for that. The user testing was only 6 or 8 people, but basically the search engine was inadequate. They couldn't find what they wanted quickly, and of course there's 2 different ways to search. You can use a search engine or you can try navigation, but neither of those things was functioning very well. And we also didn't really advertise the site a lot. We didn't promote and push it much either, which I think, and in the end we weren't promoting it much because we knew we needed to improve it. So that was another thing. And of course, you know, most of the we have a few videos in there, but because of the issue of updating them, we've more or less we really haven't got many videos at all now, and we've got a lot of images in there, and Moodle doesn't work well with that. That's really tedious and time consuming. So yeah, in the idea of a refresh, we wanted to try to solve some problems, and we didn't solve them. So I can see that my little smiley and non-smiley faces haven't worked very well. Obviously the search engine, we wanted to use Sajari. We tried to get it to work and we couldn't. And so very recently we've decided we just have to use the glossary search engine for now. As far as there being too much information, the glossary had like 300 entries or something. So we've managed to reduce those right down, and we've made the homepage structure, we're planning to make that flatter with a lot less choices. But I'm now grappling with how to fit things into the choices that are on that site. There's always a minus and a plus in everything, every decision you make, I think. We had the entries were accordion style, which is bootstrap styling, but a lot of people didn't get that you had to click on that bar to open up entries, so we ditched that and we're now going with a contents menu at the top of entries and bookmarks. And because we've got a lot more content in each entry now, hopefully that will be a better approach, because people have less choices when they search. But it is a nightmare for I mean, Moodle doesn't really work well with hyperlinks and content headings, I don't think. So it's all done in the HTML, which is a pain. And we've got a new design interface, which is being worked on at the moment. So nothing live as yet. As I said, we're planning to go live for semester 2. So it's still open access. And it will still be at the same link, but at the moment it's still the old site, which you've just seen as a screen grab. The search engine is the same. There'll be a simplified interface, less choices to pick from, and no Moodle blocks at the side, which will make for a more screen space. So this is what the design is looking like at the moment. We still have some problems to iron out, like as in where does some things fit? You know, they don't obviously all fit under those headings, and you don't want to have to engineer it too much. So it's still a bit of a nutting out in the head, which is scary because we haven't got long to go before semester 2. So I'm very afraid. Forward planning, this is a stopgap measure, really, what we're doing for semester 2. You can see that design looks a lot different to what Moodle normally looks like. But we're probably going to combine a whole bunch of resources that come under the Centre for Innovation in Learning and Teaching in 2019. We're in a bit of a difficult space. We're trying to change something in a time of change. It would probably be better to change something in a time of non-change, but you don't always have a choice about that. But the aim is still to streamline resources so they're all in one place, but it'll be in a much bigger picture way. We haven't just trying to, in terms of sustainability and for, you know, who does work in the site, it's always been a central team, but what we're trying to do is get more ownership, if you like, in the colleges where we have e-learning support teams in the colleges who support individual disciplines, etc. And we don't want this to be a centrally owned resource anymore. We want people to really come on board with it and update it and start to care about it, because the whole idea is that they're going to send links in the glossary to staff. The idea is that it's going to take some weight off the load they have of writing their own resources, or, you know, telling people over and over again the same thing. So we really want ownership. So we're still thinking about how we maintain and control the content, and we've got a few ideas about that. That's, you know, probably about it. I mean, we haven't, in terms of Moodle, you know, we haven't, because it's open access, we've looked at who's accessed the site. Numbers have been relatively low, but I think that's partly because we haven't really advertised it much. Because it's still sitting in Moodle, we're still going to find that hard to assess the usage of it. But certainly when it gets launched in semester 2, we'll have taken on board what staff are saying, and we'll be promoting it a lot. And then the feedback we get from them will help us to reshape how it looks in a different platform. So I think that's probably it for me.
Great, Andrea. Thank you very much. I'm wondering if anyone from the group might have a question for Andrea. If you do, please feel free to raise your hand or pop it in the chat. But I might use the question that Tom had earlier for actually James, but I think it's still relevant here. So did you see sort of priority or very topical subjects or the areas that you needed to cover in the resources? So do you have a sort of more important resources that you needed to create and engage people to use?
Yeah, well, we started with the basic tools in Moodle, and which were already more or less in the support site that we had, but we really had dreams to, like I said, include more learning design materials. We wanted to show examples of how people were using the quiz tool, for example. We wanted a topic showcase. We wanted sort of models, if you like, of how people could design their online learning, their topics in the online learning platform. And we hadn't really progressed that very far, because there's so many complicated processes around trying to get people to trying to topic showcase people's flow sites, for example, which is what we call Flinders Learning Online, our learning platform. So we had big ideas, but we were always limited. To some extent, we were limited by the Moodle platform. The original idea was that we would keep it within Moodle because it was about Moodle, but I think we've realised that it's, you know, when it becomes ridiculously hard, you've got to kind of let that go, I think.
Yeah, so that's the question from Tom as well. Would it be a possibility to create this in HTML-based format rather than keeping it in a Moodle?
Yeah, and I think that's probably the way it will go. We won't be keeping this in Moodle next year. We did decide to redesign it for this year, but I think longer term, it'll probably end up in probably a CMS of some sort. Flinders has a new CMS system. Like I said, there's a lot of things happening at Flinders. We don't have an intranet site, so if it's located in the CMS with other learning and teaching materials, then it will be still open access, which we like the idea of. We're also looking to use Confluence, which is a wiki. I don't know, it's a wiki system that Flinders uses, and that's got some really great features, but it does lock down the materials. So at this stage, we'll probably end up in a CMS kind of system.
Tom has his hand up. Tom, do you want to ask question? And keep it short, please, if you can. We want to move to the next speaker. Tom? Or maybe not. He has raised his hand up. But all right. Thanks very much, Andrea, for sharing this work. And if people can join me in thanking her in the chat with emoticons like clapping hands, that would be great. And we'll move on to the next speaker.